George Orwell created his beautiful masterpiece Entire Utopia. I don't think he could have imagined that actually one day this might come up true. Yet, during my research, I've realized that modern internet is very scary, and it resembles what was the plot of 1984, where war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Basically, I started my experiment 2 years ago by implanting myself a biochip. I volunteered to become an early version of a Terminator, basically to understand the true challenges of data management and basically what it's like to be living in the Internet of Things. Today, I'm going to share my discoveries with you. So you know and understand, the biochip is right here in my left hand, and it's very small, 2 by 12 millimeters, and it has a small chip of memory in it and an antenna. And all that is covered by so-called bioglass. Bioglass is a hypoallergenic material that basically makes the chip friends with human tissue, because usually it doesn't happen a lot in nature. Our body is very good when it comes to rejecting anything and everything that is, with different DNA. Luckily, in my case, thanks to bioglass and a moderate amount of tequila, it went smooth. So to your right, you see my hand roughly 2 hours past the surgery. And to your left, you see the same hand 3 days after. As you see, it's healthy, and it's good, and it's smooth, and already programmed. Because I started to play with the chip like 2 minutes after the implantation and never stopped since. Basically, the first thing I did, I connected myself to an Android phone and saved a very small piece of text. Do Android dream of electric chip? I did it for 2 reasons. Well, first one, I'm a big fan of Blade Runner, and I did it as a homage to Philip K. Dick. And second, I guess I truly wanted to know the answer. And today, I know the answer. But before we walk on my dreams, let me walk on yours a bit. Let me show you what a guy with a small basic biochip can do. So, right now in my hand, there is a futuristic prototype or a unified key. Because right now in my company, Kaspersky Lab, they helped me. They replaced all the locks in the office, so I can access the campus, the canteen, the garage, my own office, restricted areas, just by touching the door. I don't have to carry an ID on me. And it's just tip of the iceberg, because it turns out I can unlock any Android device with no PIN, no fingerprint. I just don't need that. I just need to be there by touching. And if you think about it, everything that is related to identification could be done differently. For example, we took it further, and we connected a small NFC reader to a laptop and did some basic coding on the back end of my blog. And we proved that it's possible to access any website or any app just by being there. I didn't need to enter anything, like no password, no login. And actually, this made me think of one specific silly thing, that modern identification documents, they're obsolete by technology standards, because what is a passport or a driving license? It's a piece of paper or plastic with some basic texts and numbers in it, and they're insanely easy to fake, and it has no value anymore, because for example, when you cross the border and you show your passport, it's not the passport itself that makes you you. It's the fact that it's checked with a computer database by border control, right? So why to carry all those documents on us at all times? It doesn't make any sense anymore. In fact, why to carry a wallet at all? Because we've proved that using cryptocurrencies, you can actually pay or get paid just by touching the terminal. And actually, some things, they can be done even with no touching. For example, every Star Wars fan knows if you're not doing this to doors with photo elements, you're wasting your time on Earth, literally. And being a fan of Star Wars, of course, I couldn't resist the temptation of the light side, so my friends helped me, and we totally misused Microsoft Kinect and did some basic engineering, and we forced this door to obey the power of a Jedi. So actually, that's why I have this thing, I guess. So, to look realistic. So, the funny thing is, some of you might be wondering, if this is so awesome and great and fantastic, what's the catch here? And those of you who think this way, you're right, there is a catch. It just took me a while to understand it. I had to live with a biochip for like almost 2 years to understand what I'm paying with for the fun I'm having. And I'm going to share it with you. So we've conducted an experiment where I was using my laptop and my smartphone and basically a lot of devices, and was living my normal life. So I was web surfing, I was buying stuff, I was using social media and stuff. But I used only one form of ID, my biochip. And this is where I realized a very, very weird thing. So computers, they don't have eyes, right? They cannot see us. The only thing they could see, they're like, zeros and ones. This is how they see us. Those zeros and ones flying in the cyberspace, this is how they get an idea of what our face looks like, what is the behavior, who is the person interacting with the computer. But I realized that in my case, those, were not just zeros and ones anymore. Those were literally parts of my body, because I produced this, right? And that was actually a revelation, because today I'm going to say a very critical, disruptive thing. I propose we start treating personal data as a layer to human DNA, because DNA is the same thing. DNA has information, and it's unique for every one of us. Why not to treat it the same way? In fact, I tracked myself, and I'm going to show you how it looks like, so you understand I'm pretty serious about it. So this is me, just 1 hour of my life. I just was using my browser, surfing and doing stuff. You can see my interests. You can see what I did. This is my personal Facebook account and basically whom I interacted with through the day. This is more applicable to you and all of us. Basically, it's a Wi-Fi, enabled cafeteria, Starbucks in this case, and just on a busy day, 1 minute of it. It's us surfing and researching, doing our routine, basically. This is a small startup developing their own mobile application. That's why they have one color in common, because they do one thing at the same time. And this is a split second of your time if you're a company like Google, Yandex, Microsoft, Apple, anyway, a big company. Very important thing hit me, that computers in the last 25 years changed. The role changed. In 1992, computers were produced as tools, marketed as tools, and sold as tools, and we were all users. In 2020, where the forecast is we're going to have roughly 50 billion devices, it's not the same anymore, because I think the role changed. We are not users anymore. We are sensors for a system that is big, and we do not own it or control it. And the computer is not a tool anymore. It's an interface between life and artificial life. And this makes a hell of a difference. And what is more important, I would be totally okay with that if the system would be in balance, but the system is not in balance. I'm going to illustrate my point by using so-called Jauhari concept. Just for the show of hands, who knows what it is? At least one person, that's okay, it's good. 2, nice. So we have balcony here. So as all complicated concepts, it could be explained with a boring side like that. I'm going to skip it because nobody would read it. I'm going to use example of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So basically, Jauhari window says that there are only 4 types of information in the world: known, unknown, and semi-known. And we, as people, we migrate from unknown to known. We improve. We become better. And the point is, everyone has something that we don't know about ourselves. If we apply Jauhari window concept to modern internet, this is how it's going to look like. There are literally, many companies, but at least 5 of them, they know about you more than you, yourself, your family, and friends combined. And they can predict your behavior. For me, it's not okay. And you might be wondering, how did that come up to that? Like, how did that happen? Well, ask yourself just one question. Who owns our data? In my case, my digital DNA. Who owns it physically? It turns out, everybody but us who produce it. That's the problem, right? And some of you, I'm sure you're engaged in IT and technology, and you must be wondering, like, what's the problem with that? I don't care how much data they have on me unless they provide quality service and it's free. Well, I strongly disagree, and I'm going to show you why, in fact, everyone should care. The first problem is you cannot compete with data. It's almost impossible. Next time you're going to think of starting your own business or you're going to come up with an idea, think twice. Because actually, it's almost impossible to compete with big companies who can make the service better just by applying data to it. They don't have to guess. They know what businesses to start, and they know how to make existing businesses better. It's a problem. If you want to understand what it feels like, try to play chess with a deep blue computer. I dare you. And good luck thinking you might win, because you can't. And it's already been proven. Computer can beat human at chess because it knows your behavior. It can predict your moves before you even think of it. The problem is data is now applied to businesses, not chess. The second problem is cybersecurity because, well, I have a lot of friends in companies like Google and Apple and Facebook, etc. And I think they're great. They have the best minds working for them. They truly care about cybersecurity. The problem is not everybody is Google, right? There are at least 2,000 networks out there who sell and buy user information, and God knows how many small e-commerces who cannot protect our data, passwords, logins, credit card information, history. They just can't. They don't have resources of Google. And that's a problem because cyber criminals know that. And they can always find a weak spot. They can use your name by duplicating your identity and commit crimes. And the problem here is actually never-ending because if we go to people who actually solve crimes or whose job is intelligence or counterintelligence, they are not okay with the situation either because, well, governments have needs. We all know that. They would always want to know everything about everybody while keeping their own secrets. It's okay. It's what government do, right? The problem is twofold. Well, first of all, right now, access to information is binary, meaning that, let's say you're crossing the border, and let's say there's an officer asking you to open your iPhone. If you do that and comply, you're not giving him just a small piece of information that this person needs for his official business. You're revealing your whole life. And it's not okay at all. And the second problem is, well, with all due respect to governments, they're like enterprises, and they're not safe. They can be hacked. And cases like WikiLeaks, Edward Snowden, like Stuxnet, and many others, they prove that nobody is safe. And the problem is, if you're a well-funded cybersecurity organization, there's nothing more sexy to you than a big, huge governmental database, right? And the government, surprisingly, they love creating those still. The problem is, it would take a while for them to catch up with new mentality that technologies like encryption, like P2P storage, like cryptocurrencies, like bitcoins and stuff, they have to be embraced and developed because it would help the governments. They just don't get it yet. But even that is not the main problem. The main problem is human rights. Because you know what? Nobody listens to our opinion. I'm not the first person on Earth to bring up the privacy issue. I'm just probably the first cyborg to do that, which makes a difference, I hope. So my point is, many times we asked to have an adult conversation, to discuss the fact that clicking I agree is not a fair choice. It's an ultimatum, and it's not okay. But nothing changes, and I have a reference in our history that is very, very similar, slavery. Because slaves might have an opinion, nobody would care, right? Because they're slaves. And if I have an opinion that it should be stored differently, my own digital DNA should be stored differently and dealt with differently, nobody listens, that makes me slave in a way, like a digital slave for sure. And you might be wondering if there are any good news. Well, there is good news as well. Because in our history, we did have our fair share of slavery and oppression, and I think that internet is a form of society. It copies our history. And in our history, we did have feudals, monarchs, who controlled vast amount of resources, and they used it for their own good, with no explanation. One could wake up and go and attack France, because she just wanted to attack France. Just gather up, grab your swords, and just go, or just like their wine. And the thing is, it's exactly what's been happening right now in the internet. We have several companies who own the new analog of medieval gold or modern oil, and they use it for their own sake. without explanation. And I think it's a huge problem. To be honest, it's not that obvious to most of you right now. But let me take you there in my head. Let's say one day we witness singularity, and nothing changes today. Singularity is a situation where in several years, theoretically, computers would be sophisticated enough to store all our minds online and let us live forever as machines. Well, if that happens, and if it's not impossible, what would happen, we're gonna be indexed. All our memories, all our emotional experiences, everything that we are would be indexed by companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, all of them. We would lose our freedom forever. We're already there, but there is just still time to change something. And coming back to my question before, do androids dream of electric sheep? Well, as part android, my answer is no. I dream of a totally different thing. I truly dream that one day we're going to be free in the digital world the same day or the same way we are in the real one, because I strongly believe that they are not different anymore. Artificial and real, they're merging. They're right now one. Some of you might say, well, this is not realistic. It's your opinion. I buy it. I'm just saying I won't stop. I'm going to pursue my dream of digital freedom to the end. And actually, I already did something. I gathered a small team, and this spring we got a patent that basically, essentially, makes all passwords and logins obsolete in the nearest future. Your behavior would be your identity in the internet or everywhere, actually. And some of you might say, well, it's tracking, a new way of tracking. Well, no, because I'm doing it responsibly. I have a chip here. And using technologies like encryption, like containerization, like disinformation, and faking my digital trail, I can win. I can win our privacy and freedom back while keeping businesses, governments, and us happy. I think I found a win-win solution. We don't need a lot of IDs or credentials online. What we need is single, multi-personality that every person could own and switch at all times, and where his rights to commit mistakes, his rights to do whatever they want, and his rights to be untrackable are actually guaranteed by Constitution and law. I'm not saying you should join me. I would be happy if you do. I'm just saying that this is my dream and my path, and I'm going all the way. But whatever you dream about, I just hope that all those moments won't be lost in time, like tears in the rain. Thank you.